add on, I think Isabel Campoy really said it well at the opening plenary on Thursday, is that as educators, we need to keep in mind of being mirrors and windows. Mirrors to see that we can see ourselves in our curriculum, that we're able to connect, but also know how to look through windows to see others in how they live their lives, how they're represented in the curriculum. I think people get confused with the idea of culture, that it has to be the dominant culture that has to be taught from that standpoint, or the second dominant culture that needs to be taught. But culture is family. Culture is, just like Jesse said right now, understanding your abuelitas and your mamás and your papás and the tios, and knowing your community with which you live. You know, it's not about making students proficient in English. It's about making students whole in their whole entire human self, embracing every aspect of their lives so that they know how to articulate who they are, and then they know how to interact when they meet with people who are different from them, with respect, with compassion. I think for me, that's the idea of teaching culture, having that sustainable thought process and respectable relationship.
I'd like to add to that. One of the things that I think that our teachers that we've left behind that did not have the opportunity to come to La Cosecha, that if they're already in dual language, they already appreciate the culture and they try very hard to make sure that it's part of their curriculum or just their everyday life. And so whatever the teachers take back to them will just reinforce what they already know to be of value.
And what inspired you all to become dual language advocates?
You saw me today. I started for my children when they were young, just 5 years old, becoming, I wanted to know how to make sure that my children always spoke their languages. I wanted to help my husband learn English better and still be respectful of where he came from. And then as I became a teacher, I fell in love with my students. And so I've been in love with my students for 16 years. And every year it's something different. Every year it's someone new. Every year it's something amazing. When it's a light that gets on, or even when they get angry and work through something, it's the students, but also it's the teachers. It's the amazing adults that give their lives to our communities.
I was not very successful in high school. I had teachers tell me that because of my learning disability, that I could never learn a second language. And working with other students and fighting against colonialism and making people aware of whiteness and white privilege, pushing it back against the system, and instilling that idea of la lucha in estudiantes, and that there is a possibility for hope and of a better place, and that bilingualism and biliteracy is a way to fight against colonialism, it's a way to fight against the status quo, and to make sure that we're all treated with decency and respect.
Pretty much well said, yes.
I'd like to add to it, and I'm hopefully not trying to talk too much, but one of the things that caused me to become an advocate for dual language of education is, I remember my grandmother, she always would tell me, you will regret not speaking Spanish, and sure enough I did, because when I started school, English was the language that I needed to speak. But also, my grandmother brought to mind to me, because she's one of the people that crossed the Rio Grande in order to get here. And I've always wanted to write a book that's with the title of My Grandmother Spoke Broken English Very Well. And so because of what she shared and instilled in me, that was one of the reasons why I would want to be I continue to be an advocate for dual language.
For me, I have a kind of a two-pronged approach of how I became a dual language advocate. When I first started teaching, I was monolingual, and it was my students in the immersion process that got me to become bilingual. And so I was able to relate to the loss of language in my own family as well. and then relate that with my students, that why are we trying to strip away something that's so beautiful and a part of their roots. So that's my professional lens. My philosophy in general is like a holistic whole child approach, and what better way to value children than to make them feel appreciated for who they are, where they come from, the language they speak. And it's just the best way to become better people, because you're instilling that empathy and that love for language and culture in everybody.
And as board members, what do you hope that those who are able to attend La Cosecha take away?
A love for La Cosecha. Just kidding.
I think that I feel we were talking about feeling this high. While we're here, it's an exhaustion, but it's also like a big high, because it's exciting to hear so many people who dream about what is yet to happen, and how we're transforming the spaces that were very traditionally oppressive for so many students and people with different voices, different languages. So I think that I can't imagine anybody not going back with that incredible high and desire to make changes. So I think that's one of the biggest things I feel during this exhausting and wonderful time. Yeah.
To add on to that high, just a feeling that they're not alone, because sometimes this work feels very lonely, and I think that by coming together with over 3,000 people who feel the same way as you and share a passion in that, you're not alone, even though when you go back to your school or your district, you may feel that way, but we are a community and we are growing.
I hope that they're re-energized, that they come to this conference and they feel like they have the power and they're empowered to go back to their schools, to their communities, and continue the fight and continue the process and continue advocating for students who may need someone that advocates for them.
And somos familia. That's it, really right there. Somos familia.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming and talking with us.
Thank you.